think about time, oh time, how time passes by. Do you still think about how time goes by? Do you, do you, do you, do you, do you, do you?
After 4 days of mostly free reefs in the mainsail, 4 windy days, blowing 20 to 25 knots all the time, starting to lighten up. I'm going to shake out that third reef and put the second reef in. The red line here is the third reef line. Release that. Lower the halyard some. It's a standard slab reefing system. Get this tack ring off the hook. Pressure of the wind, holding the sail up a little bit. Reefing downwind like this, you got the sail pressed in against the rigging and the mast. But with this strong track system, it's low friction, it works pretty well. You don't have to turn up wind for it. Now we'll secure the second reef line. 2 knots here, the blue line. Rehoist the halyards. Making sure nothing's hung up the float. Nice about a battenless mainsail, you don't have battens to hang up. The halyard snug. Now we're on our final approach to St. Mary's Inlet between Florida and Georgia. About 15 miles ahead. Last night our southeast wind went south and then light and calm, and we motored a few hours, and then just an hour ago a very light southwest wind sprung up, so we got full sail up and moving along about 4 knots, kind of sedately in the calm water, just a leftover swell running. Pretty easy ride with no wind waves yet. This is one of the nicest times to sail offshore. It's when the old wind has died, that it's generated all that rough water, and the sea's had a chance to calm down a bit, and a new wind has just popped up. And now you're sailing along in nearly flat water before the new wind has a chance to kick up new waves.
Although we initially set sail for the Bahama Islands, as we approached it became evident to our cautious navigator James that the high waves generated by several days of strong winds would make our intended landfall at a narrow, shallow channel to the little Bahama bank a risky choice. Since we were out for the passage more than the destination and had not scheduled extra time to sail on to a safer inlet to the Bahamas, we diverted to another favorite island of James called Cumberland Island on the border between Florida and Georgia. In contrast to the perfectly clear waters and colorful coral reefs of the Bahamas, Cumberland Island is a densely wooded nature reserve bordered on its western shore by a muddy, serpentine river and impenetrable marshlands. Ashore, picturesque hanging Spanish moss decorates the twisted oak canopy overhead. Although it was not the paradise we envisioned en route to Bahamas, it was just as captivating in its own way. Our travels had turned into an unplanned adventure that in a way represented my personal quest for change. I hope to be open for what is to come and not stubbornly latch on to some image of freedom that I picked out as a destination off of a map or from the experience of another traveler from written words in a book. I now see it was my resiliency that gave me the strength to embrace my sailing plans and an adaptive quality I try to continue to apply to my adventures today. Valhalla has rounded Baja California Peninsula and entered the broad waters of Sea of Cortez. We sail softly in aquamarine-colored waters into Bahia de las Animas. I operate our windlass and deploy the ground tackle. I then tie a rolling hitch snubber line around our 3/8 inch chain and secure the lines properly. We dinghy to shore.
I get you.
My buddies and I stretch out our legs and then decide to hike to the canyon top and enjoy the view.
Anchored in the creek off Plum Orchard. We're at the restored Carnegie Mansion grounds here, called Plum Orchard, Cumberland Island. And you'll like this one, just down the road a piece, Yankee Paradise. And right next to it, it says water. In parentheses, sulfur. I think we should go that way. Just admiring this unlikely pair here of bald cypress growing up in between this really twisted limbed live oak, going out everywhere all at once with moss hanging off it. It's really a beautiful scene here. It's got this bald cypress tree growing up through in the middle of an embrace of this sprawling live oak with its branches twisted around all of its neighbors, moss dripping off the limbs. It's like a Jurassic scene, huh?
Cumberland Island, a body of land surrounded by water, like any island, stands against the sea as we do, weathering the storms, just as we stand for a time against life's erosion. Here, the misfortune of a previous missed landfall is accepted. A new door has opened. The ability to envision oneself independently of our schemes is the first step to arrival. The next step is the ability to adapt to the reality of our situation of being in a place as indifferent to our plans and desires as the sea is. we evolve into a future beyond our knowing. The island, as our life, has a beauty that frightens, delights, and enlightens. Mother Nature's cycle of life. The ultimate creator, the ultimate adapter, the ultimate destroyer.
Walking through the forest, I think back about my friend Karawa in New Guinea, who I befriended when I was in the city working at a boatyard there, and he had just come down from the mountains where his tribe was living and looking for work in the city. Gave him a job there helping me to fit out a boat, and when we finished our work he invited me back to his village up in the Western Highland province, deep in the center of New Guinea. And that was really a great experience, walking clear across New Guinea up into the mountains way beyond the tourist zones, and living with people in a state I hadn't known still existed. And it was a hard life up there, the grass huts and infertile soil. They grew sweet potatoes and almost nothing else except what they gathered from the forest. So it was pretty basic, hard living up in the mountains. Came down with malaria there. He took care of me. I was sick up there in the hut and delirious and in and out of consciousness for several days. And finally he and some other friends of his from the village carried me down that mountain, held me in an icy stream on the way down to break my fever, and then got me into the regional hospital up there and started to recover. But a lot of good memories of Karawa. Good friend. Good guy to have on the trail with you.
For the remainder of our day visit on Cumberland Island, James and I explore further on. We come across this swamp that reminds James of his time spent in Papua New Guinea, crossing knee-deep muck rivers. We also come across an old shed with a blown-out roof that is also reminiscent. And we decide to get back to Atom before it gets too late. We observe the locals in their boats. James demonstrates his fiberglass dinghy rowing technique. These are the type of dinghies he prefers over inflatables because of their tried and true reliability. And as the evening wears on, we enjoy the soft colors in the Georgia sky and the sunset, and we get comfortable on Atom and have a little chat before bedtime.
Now this is a book about a voyage I would like to make. A bad-mannered Englishman sailing around the British Isles, disgusted by everything he sees and everyone he sees. I'd like to make that trip.
Do you just want to tear people to shreds?
No, I don't want to write the trip the way he wrote it. I'd like to make the trip, but it's just funny to read this guy's bad attitude and his unending tirade against everything British, including himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's a transplanted British American who went back to England to sail around the British Isles. Jonathan Raban, brilliant writer, beautiful prose, and just sarcastic as hell.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit like me in that way, but he overdoes it, which I would never do.
Yeah, he gets away with it too, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I want to rip people to pieces and get away with it and still get the higher road on it.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, like you mentioned in my book, where I did rip into just a few people. Something I don't like to do, but it's to balance out your story. That's how life was out there, right? I mean, some people rubbed you so strongly the wrong way. It needs telling sometimes, but yeah, we don't want to dwell on the negative, the dark aspects of everything, because that's not what I hope to be about anyway, right?
What do you hope to be this documentary?
I want to be inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to feel inspired to get up off their couch, put their smart devices away,
Mm-hmm.
and know that they can go out and have an authentic experience with nature, with the sea, whatever they choose. They don't have to sail a small boat across the ocean. That's been done to death. If that's their thing, it's a great way to go. I know that, but I mean, you just need to get out in the world, and that's what I would hope that your documentary here just brings something into their lives to make them think, okay, I need to make a little change too. He made a big change in his life and went out and did something. And, a lot of people have hunger for something. They don't know what it is. So maybe it would spark some interest in small boat voyaging, which would be great.
How do you...
Like this guy does in his books. Like I try to do in mine,
Different horses for different courses.
Yeah. Well, my books, was all about sailing here and about his criticisms of the English. But besides inspiring people to maybe get out and have an adventure of their own, I hope to, like in my books, I hope to have a worthwhile entertainment at least.
Here we admire the moonrise over the canopy of Cumberland Island. The next morning, James and I returned back to Brunswick, Georgia, to his home, where he lives with his wife, May, and we take a look at their boatwork projects, where I think they are dedicating themselves to a great purpose and giving back to the sailing community. That's the next episode. Love Affair with the Sea, Episode 6.
There is no separation between you and me. I will die carrying what I